Hello, Pocatello.
Hello, Pocatello.
Hello, Pocatello. Welcome to Hello, Pocatello. This week's guest is Mark Daniels. Hello, Mark.
Hello, Keith.
How are we doing today?
Doing well. Doing pretty good.
Good. We're glad you came on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you.
Been looking to get a hold of you and had some stuff go on last week and been really busy this week too, but
Yeah.
we finally got a hold of you and got you here in the studio.
Yeah, scheduling can be tough.
Oh, yeah.
We're all busy. We're all busy. Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and start out with telling us how you got here to Pocatello and a little bit about yourself, and we'll continue from there.
Okay. I talk a lot, so you'll have to edit out a lot of what I say that isn't important or relevant. I grew up in Haley, so I've lived in Idaho 90% of my life. And I went to school at Utah State University, where I got my art degree. And then I got divorced there. And then my ex-wife, she lives in Blackfoot. So she moved back to live with her parents. And I had just got my teaching degree. So I was looking for a job up in this area. And I hadn't found a teaching job up here yet. But I have a brother that lives here, Officer Ralph Daniels.
Okay.
And I came up and I lived with him for a while. And I worked at Teleperformance, which no longer.
Well, I worked there.
Did you?
Yeah.
No way.
I was living at my grandma's and rode all the way down the hill from Wyeth Street.
Okay.
Rode my little bike down there and all the way back up the hill.
Yeah. Yeah. I was there for a couple of years before I got my teaching job at New Horizons Center.
Oh, nice.
And so that was, I guess I moved to Pocatello 17 years ago. And this is my 14th year teaching now at New Horizons Center.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good school.
I love it. I was just over at the First Nash last night and met a guy I hadn't met him before. We just were sitting at the bar and started chatting, and two of his sons went out in the time frame I was there, and we got talking about the demographic of the kids that go there, and I love the demographic of the kids that are there. A lot of them are opinionated, don't necessarily want to listen to authority, and that's kind of my vibe. That's where I resonate with people that have their own opinions and maybe need a little proof before they just believe something.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that's everybody.
Yeah, not at all. I actually went to one of those schools in Blackfoot, and my mom actually taught at one of them. And so I recognize, like what you're saying, with being opinionated, but a lot of it's from, having a lot of things happen in their lives, or just the type of people that they might be that they don't necessarily fit in with the normal school environment, and they definitely thrive a lot more. And like Blackfoot, and I think New Horizons found that if you give these kids, like direct respect and responsibility and all that stuff, that they end up kind of really flourishing and realizing like, hey, I'm actually the one in control here.
Yeah.
And I can do what I need to do. And I think that's what a lot of these kids end up needing. And I've noticed that, you're a very kind and understanding person, and you're willing to listen to what somebody has to say and actually consider it. And I think that's why a lot of kids, kind of praise your name as being their teacher.
Wow. Thank you. Yeah. I think that a lot of those kids, like you've put it really well. I think that they don't necessarily want to take your word for it, and that you don't get respect unless you give respect. You don't deserve me. I as a person, like as a student, okay, I'm not going to just listen to you because you say I should. I'm not going to just listen to you because you have a PhD or a master's or a bachelor's or whatever you have, right? Because you and I are the same. But if you are respectful to me, then I'll pay attention. I'll listen. I'll see what you have to say. And I think that's the environment that I really enjoy, because I feel very respected there. And not because I deserve it, but because they give it to me because we enjoy each other.
Yep. Just that mutual respect really pays dividends, I think, for a lot of these kids.
I agree.
So also another thing I wanted to talk about is you're also a very, very accomplished artist.
That says a lot. I love art. Don't get me wrong. And I love to explore different mediums, and I don't know, especially certain times of the year or different days of the week, I can spend, a large majority of my day involved in art. In fact, if that's all I was ever doing, I could probably just be a hermit. And like, ideally, if I could live up in a cabin in the woods away from everybody and just paint all day and no one even knew who I was, that would be great. Probably a terrible life, but
yeah. I find it kind of funny that most artists don't want to be known.
I don't know if that's true, but I think that it is. It's a juggling act for me because I have imposter syndrome, which I think a lot of people do. And in art or music or whatever you're doing, I look at a lot of different artists. I'm always seeing, on TikTok or Instagram or Pinterest, like I'm always looking at other people's art, finding inspiration from other artists out there and seeing what some people are capable of. Mm-hmm. I'm blown away, and I'm not doing what they're doing. And so I feel, I'm not that good. Right.
Yeah.
But then you have to shift your mindset. That doesn't matter, that I'm not doing what they're doing. What I'm doing is fulfilling me.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's enough. And if nobody likes it, that's a bummer, but oh well, it's not for them necessarily.
Yep. And, like people said, millionaires and billionaires have the same amount of hours in a day. They all still have to eat food and all that other stuff. And a lot of it comes down to, enjoying the process. After you become a billionaire, do you really need to work? No, but they still do.
Yeah.
Because they enjoy the journey. It's not necessarily the destination,
Yeah.
So I think, like with your art and doing that, like when you get inspired to do something, you might go through 5 different mediums or something before you find one that works for what you're wanting to do and wanting to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And like we were talking just before we started recording, finding out that a certain product that you're using isn't going to work with a certain thing, like part of that's, the triumph that you caught it before you put it on the wall or things like that, like those small wins.
It doesn't always go that way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You mentioned what medium to use, and I really enjoy a lot of different mediums. And I just finished a painting for a friend. It's a landscape of a section of Kimport, the Kimport Range. It's the highest peak, and it's got sagebrush in it. And I did it in acrylic. I've got another one now that I'm doing for my brother, same brother. He just got a new job, and I have to apologize to him. I should be a better brother, but I don't know exactly what he's doing, but I do know he's working as a counselor or like a therapist now. And so he wanted me to paint for him a beach scene from California that he took when he was there, one of his favorite places, beautiful sunset that he was able to capture. And I think I'll do that one in oil. So I like to switch between things. And I would say that that's great for me because I love it. But it's not necessarily great for notoriety because I'm not necessarily honing in on one craft and one style.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of the really well-known artists have really developed a specific style. And for example, here in town, Stacey Barker, when you see a piece of his work, you know it's his. He has a style. It doesn't matter what he's doing. And you're going to see it and you're going to, oh, that's a Stacey Barker. And I have multiple shirts of his and stickers of his. I love his work. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And Nick Hottman, when you see his work around town, you know it's his. He's got the big, bright colors with a lot of hard edge lines. And driving through town, if you see one of his pieces, you're going to know it's his too.
Yeah.
And I think
some
it's good
around
for
town
them
too, don't you?
I do. Yeah, I do. I have quite a few that I did when I worked with Josh Pullman at Sixes.
Yep. One of them, me and Amber got our pictures taken in front of.
Those pictures were fantastic.
Yeah.
That was RJ Evanescence Studio, right?
Yep, it was.
Yeah. Awesome photos. So fun. And I think it's a great background for the personality that you guys were kind of portraying. I think it was super
And
cool.
it turned out really, really good. And we knew that you had done that. So we kind of, really, really, really appreciate that. Like, I definitely love Back to the Future for sure.
Yeah, that's cool.
And to have it that big, that's just a really cool one. And, it's kind of been all over the internet and stuff. So it's a little bit notorious,
Yeah.
but having like landmarks,
Yeah. I think, well, and to his credit, that was Josh Pullman's idea.
Yeah.
How do we take an element of Idaho, specifically Pocatello and the trains, and then meld it into something pop culture iconic that a lot of people are going to recognize and enjoy, something that tons of people look at and are like, oh, I loved that movie and I loved the characters in that movie. And so it's one that even if the businesses change, right, it's still going to stand because it's doing what it should. It's tying Pocatello into something iconic. Yeah,
something that I've noticed even since when I was a kid, Pocatello's a really big hotbed for really good artists. Even my grandpa, he painted by learning from Bob Ross.
Oh yeah.
And he painted a bunch of paintings, wilderness paintings. He loved doing that stuff. He got really good at it.
Yeah.
And musicians, the music scene here, a lot of it, there's a lot of good things that go on in Pocatello that, it's been going on for years, but maybe not highlighted as much as it should be.
I think 100%. There's so many good musicians around here. And it's awesome to me that you can go to any of the local a lot of the local bars around here and see some of these bands that are phenomenal. And, some of them are playing tours and some of them are getting out there, but whether they are or not, they're fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of fun and engaging. You can tell that they put time and effort into their craft, just like doing, like you're saying, like doing art or anything like that. It takes preparation. It takes thought. You have to decide what you want the end user to feel, how you want them to walk away from your art.
Yeah.
Whether it's from a concert or a movie or anything else, it's just really cool to, kind of actually be friends with a lot of these people. Cause I'm not so good at the artist stuff myself. I consider my art, digital art, when it comes to like audio, and I'm getting into a little bit of video and lighting, but mostly audio is what I've done and kind of been my passion growing up. And,
well, it's awesome. I think that you're doing this then. I didn't know that this has been like a passion of yours. I know you have multiple instruments you play, right?
No.
Oh, you have,
I have instruments, but they're for other people to play.
Okay, I didn't realize
my wife's really good, and all my brothers played instruments. I had drummers in the family. I had a brother that played in the Idaho Falls Symphony.
Okay.
A couple of my brothers played in a band back in the day and played at Vans Warped Tour down in Salt Lake.
No way.
But they all got married, and all the band equipment disappeared because the singer owned this and the drummer owned that. So everything just kind of disappeared. So when me and my brother Neil started a band years ago, we're like, hey, let's just own all the equipment, because then all we got to replace is a singer, and he's only got to bring a guitar.
There you go. That's awesome.
Did that, and then it sat for quite a few years, but I've always messed around on my computer programs and things like that to kind of, like you say, when I'm bored, what do I do that is relaxing and I enjoy, and I feel like I did something when I'm done doing it. And that's what a lot of it was just doing the sound stuff. And I'm sure it's probably similar to you with art, when you're got nothing going on, you have, an inkling in the back of your head that you want to create something, Yeah. And mine, for the sad part is, if I didn't have somebody to play a guitar or sing or do something, I've got nothing to do.
You didn't want to learn some of those instruments that you could do on the keyboard and just produce your own. I tried it. You like the interaction.
Yeah. I kind of used to joke, because with how musical the rest of my family is, that I'm here just to make the talented people sound better.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's so important.
Like to put the shine on somebody that's already shiny.
That's beautiful. There's this video about how to start a movement. It's like I saw it on a TED Talk that someone shared this video, and there's a music concert and there's the gate. So these people that are getting recorded in this video are behind the gate. They didn't pay to get in, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're just kind of on the lawn and they're sitting around. And this one guy gets up and he starts dancing and he's just grooving and he's feeling the music and he's all about it. And it's kind of infectious because then someone else comes up and starts dancing with him. And once that second person is supporting him, once that second person is like, dude, I love what you're doing, and I want to feel that too. I want to be part of that. Then there's third person and a fourth person, and then five, and then the crowd just blossoms, and there's this whole dance revolution happening outside of the actual venue because one guy decided to support this crazy dancer. Yep. It's a beautiful thing. That's a super important role.
Yep. And I think, a big thing for here is, supporting local artists, local game changers, people that are improving the city into what everybody knows they want it to be. Yeah. And I think a lot of it's been the fear of reaching out, getting out of your comfort zone a little bit. Cause I found it easy, especially during COVID, to sit in my house. Yeah. I felt happily content doing that, I agree. I understand that 100%. And I was doing that before. I've done that for a lot of years, actually. But, getting people to get out into the community and recognize, but also, support. Yeah. And that's not always financially. It's not always anything like that. It's, sometimes it's just referring a friend like, hey, I saw this guy and I know who did that. Like, if I know that you're wanting to do something for your business, you might want to give this guy a call. That word of mouth is amazing. Yeah.
I think it's a hard balance to find because, like, for myself, if I have the opportunity to do a job, one, I know I need the money. I can use the money, right? And two, there's a sense of, I guess, the ego that is like, I can do anything, right? Like if the opportunity presents itself, I can do anything. But now that I've been working kind of as a solo artist for myself for the last couple of years, I've just recently kind of had the epiphany that just because I can doesn't mean I should. There are definitely a couple jobs that I have done that I think, you know what, maybe I should have just kicked this one over to Nick Hotman, right? Like, I just think it's more in his wheelhouse, or it's doing, lettering that I hate lettering, and Nick crushes lettering, right? Yeah. So being able to work and say no to things and to kick them over to other people, to collaborate and to promote other people. Absolutely. I don't know that comes naturally for everybody. Obviously, very naturally for you. That's part of your wheelhouse. That's what you love doing. It brings you joy. And for some people, it's hard. And I'm probably it's just because of ego. Yeah. Well, and I do think it makes a stronger community. If you have people that are in a certain trade that are fighting with each other, it makes kind of a contentious environment. You know? But when you have, like you're saying, hey, this is maybe not my wheelhouse, and you'll get a better result that you'll be happy with if you go with this guy. Like, I could do it, I can attempt it, know, but having that honesty, I think, is a hallmark of a lot of business owners and stuff here in Pocatello of, you've still got to live with these people. Yeah. Yeah. And it's part of being a good neighbor and doing things like that. So you just said something I've experienced. We needed some plumbing done, and whoever had come out initially to look at it referred us to someone else. They could have done it, but they recognized someone else actually is better at that process. Yeah. So I definitely have seen some of that in this town, and you're saying it's very much true. And the more we do it, the better.
Yeah. And you don't know unless you get out there and do it, you know. It's kind of like I mentioned this in one of the earlier podcasts, you know, of being like Miss Frizzles, get messy and make mistakes, you know. But, you know, actually doing that and putting yourself out there and being willing to be honest, but also put yourself out there, something you may not have done completely, but you're confident in yourself, and you only build that confidence by breaking a few things along the way, you know.
Yeah, don't turn away every opportunity just because you're not comfortable with it.
Yep. And people allowing you to say, hey, I might break this, but I'm going to try and make this awesome. If I don't, I'll make it right, you know.
One of the kind of breakthrough moments for me in my own personal business was working with Nick Shepard and Basie to do Basie's food truck. I didn't have a big portfolio when they came to me looking for their truck to be painted, and the confidence they had to wait through the process to get to the end result, to their credit, that's amazing. And the end result is one of my favorite pieces because it's beautiful, because it ties in Venezuelan culture. There's a waterfall. The tallest waterfall in the world is in Venezuela, and that's depicted. There's a lake out there that gets more lightning strikes per year than anywhere else in the world.
So don't go fishing there.
Probably not. Yeah. And we were able to take these elements of things that, you know, Basie appreciated from, you know, her heritage and tie it into Pocatello.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful meld. And I'm forever grateful for that piece. It means a lot because it was so unique in that it was like they really put a lot of trust in me, not having seen my portfolio. Didn't really exemplify what I could do. And so doing, like you said, being able to take on something that seems bigger than you, but have the confidence and the people to work with that are willing to let you do that. Yeah.
Yep. So if you had some young artist that's sitting here in Pocatello that's just getting started out, what kind of advice would you give to them of how to approach that?
Oh, a lot of people aren't going to like my response. and this is just my experience. So take it with a grain of salt. I would say, don't go to college for art. I went to college for art and it didn't do me service. Not that I didn't enjoy going to college and doing the art that I was able to do and meeting the cool people that I did and having the experiences I did. All of that was great. But I have learned more in my craft by engaging in my craft than I feel I ever learned in class. I really enjoyed the intellect.
Yeah.
Being around people that are thinking art, talking art, that was priceless to me. But the actual improvement of my own craft has only come through my own practice.
You know, just trial and error.
Yeah. So I guess I would say, if it's something you love, it's something you're passionate about, just keep doing it and do it often and try to do it. I personally try to do it for other people, because for me, when I do art for myself, sometimes I get like blocked, like I don't know what to do. But when I have to do a piece for someone else, I have the motivation. Like I've got to get this done. I've got to figure out how to do this thing that maybe is tricky or difficult, or I haven't attempted before. So try to master your craft and improve on yourself and your own techniques. But if you have the opportunity to do that for other people, I think it helps to improve yourself too.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So we'll kind of switch, and not really switching because we're kind of natural segue, but kind of on teaching. So as a teacher, what's most rewarding for you about guiding students through their own creative journey?
I really appreciate that in art, there is no right and wrong. So to be able to have students that come in with the "I'm not good at art" phrase, which you hear all the time, and then be willing in my class to try things, to experiment and to, I'm not really interested in helping them master a skill. My interest with students at New Horizon has always been exploration.
Yeah.
And just trying things out and making sure that it's fun, I hope, for them to try them out. I'm sure that everybody who went through school and went through an art class remembers the sphere, the cube, and the cone that they had to shape.
Quit going to art class.
Thank you. That's exactly.
That's when I quit. It was sixth grade. I remember, and there in Blackfoot. Yep.
Yeah.
I learned how to draw. Yeah, it was a cone, and I started shading.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm horrible at this, and I quit.
And that's exactly to my point. That is the opposite of what I feel like art should be.
Yeah. Just
because you can't correctly shade this in the manner that I think it's supposed to be done, and I'm the one giving you a grade, that has no bearing on the quality of the art, because art is supposed to be personal and expressive.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me it's wrong.
Well, and I think people could probably look at that now and realize, like, somebody taped a banana to a wall.
Yeah.
And that was considered art, you know?
Right.
So give yourself a little bit of slack if you gave up after drawing a couple squares.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think for me, the joy, some of the things that I enjoy about teaching are, one, being able to be involved with students. And I've kind of always had, like, kids just naturally are willing to come up and hang out and talk. And even Rachel, my wife, is like, why do kids like you? I'm like, I don't know, because I engage with them,
Probably like, same reason you like me.
Because I'm a little weird, and I don't care if you are too.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the interaction, and then I really enjoy seeing someone who said, I'm bad at art, maybe not get good at art, but just actually enjoy it. And that's okay. And not have to worry about whether it's great. Right.
Yeah.
But they're engaged in class. And that's really what I want. They don't need to be good. They just need to be participating and enjoying. Mm-hmm. That's so fun.
Have you had any students teach you something that you didn't know over the years? Like, kind of bring something to light that just like, I never looked at it that way.
Ooh, that's a good question. The thing that comes to mind is just through experimentation, learning things. Mm-hmm. We melted crayons one time, just like, let's just melt crayons and do stuff with it. And when we're experimenting and exploring, students come up with their own ways. And I try to encourage that, but they're always going to mess around and try things. Like, I have the heat guns for wood burning, but we used them for melting crayons, right? Well, I come over and this kid's like melting a lid, right? And it's stinking in the class. And that's why I found him, right? Because it's like, something smells like burning plastic.
Yeah.
Don't fire me. But that's what they're doing, right? They're experimenting and they're exploring and they're doing things. And when I walked over and I see this kid punching this heat knife through this plastic lid, which was not the intention of what we were doing, was not the purpose of the heat knife in the first place, I had the initial reaction of, what are you doing? You're off task. You're making the room stinky. And what's the point of what you're doing anyways? Like, you're not making art. What are you doing? Mm. That was my initial thought, but I knew, like, that's not productive.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, just, he's kind of sheepish, like, melting this lid. Like, what are you going to do with it? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, I bet we could find something. I bet we could, like, what if we did this? What if you poked another hole here and then it stood up and then we added, whatever. And I don't remember what came of it. I just remember the experience of, like, seeing a student doing something totally off task. But it was not necessarily off task because the point was to experiment.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, not being reprimanded, like having the freedom to do that. I think, sometimes a little bit of freedoms shows a lot of respect.
Oh, that's a good point.
And it comes back, tenfold. I remember teachers that I tried to make mad when I was in high school.
That was your goal.
Yeah. And when they didn't respond the way that I was expecting,
yeah.
Where do you go with that? you know?
Uh-huh.
And so you're just like, oh, well, maybe I better play along because
making him mad's not getting me kicked out.
Yeah. And I definitely got kicked out of a couple classes too, but
yeah.
Had 2 parents that were teachers, and
oh yeah,
so I just kind of pushed against that, but kind of grew up as I got older and realized the folly of my ways.
and you invited a teacher to your podcast, so you've come a long ways.
Yeah,
good for you.
So what do you love most about the art community in Pocatello at the moment?
I really enjoy a couple of artists that I've gotten to know, and I mentioned a couple of them earlier. Mm-hmm. I keep finding other artists around town that are just kind of maybe hidden in the woodworks, or maybe I'm just hidden in the woodworks, right? Like I'm not getting out enough, and they've been there, but I haven't seen them. But I really like the Friday art walks, and I wish there were more artists present at that. I really enjoy getting to know some of the artists, and I find that it's not all artists, but I feel like a lot of artists that I have encountered, we share some personality traits and ways of thinking. I recently met this year an artist. Her name is Veronica, and I think she signs her work Vero. And she's a linguist and very intelligent person, so much fun to talk to. And I really enjoy one-on-one conversations. Yeah. I really enjoy diving into deep philosophical things that don't have any bearing on how I'm going to live my life in the future. They probably don't matter at all, but I really enjoy those kinds of conversations. I'm more awkward when there's groups. Yeah. And I don't know, where am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to talk to? Where do I put my hands, Yeah. And I have found that that's one of the things I love about the community and of artists is I find that I kind of feel like they're my people. Yeah. When I first moved to Pocatello, not when I first moved to Pocatello, but when I got my first job, or my job at New Horizon Center, I sent out an email to all the artists in the district. And it was like right at the beginning of the year. So when no one responded, I didn't really think much of it. But one person did, Sean Phelps, who teaches at Poke High now. And he was so embracing of, come on over. I needed X-Acto blades for a project I wanted to do with my students. He's like, come on over. I've got some X-Acto blades. And when I was over there, and let me show you this, and look at this, and what are you doing with your class? And I've got some lesson plans for you. Just an amazing person. And I feel like that is a lot of the artists I've ran into. Very willing to share, very willing to collaborate and work together. Yep. And if I'm not working with an artist, it's probably just my own fault.
Yeah, and I think kind of a roundabout way, that's how I met you, because Sean was my art teacher in high school when he was originally in Blackfoot. And then I ran into him up here and found out he was in my wife's friend group. Yeah. And you ended up being part of that. Mm-hmm. That was on, because she was working with your wife. And so we've kind of gotten to know each other. And, it's one of the things I like about both you and Sean. It's because you kind of vibe the same way of being able to, be really inclusive people. Mm. Yeah. And, finding the interesting in something. Yeah.
Oh, Sean is amazing at that. Yeah. If you don't know Sean, you just haven't stepped outside of your front door.
Hey, Sean, if you don't hear it, it's time to come on the podcast.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's just been really cool because I've been really, really connected with a lot of artists. And it's always cracked me up because you go in any artist's house and their house is full of art that nobody gets to see, and and it's just kind of like here with doing a podcast, it's hard, or doing any type of music stuff is you're never really finished, but you still have a deadline. Yeah. And so at some point you have to let your baby go into the world and go grow up, Mm-hmm. So it's always that, got about 50 unfinished pieces, type of thing. And
I think it's kind of cool because I never feel like anything's fully done.
Yeah.
But when I work on a new project and I look back at some of the older projects, I have to be careful to not be like, oh, that old project I did a year ago, that's trash. Like, cause it, or whatever. Cause it wasn't, it was just, that's where I was at. And and it's awesome to keep progressing, but still never feeling like you're fully finished with anything.
Yeah. You could sit 2
That never
years
goes
later,
away.
man, I could have added something on there and that would have, man, I'm going to do that next time I do it. And then you never end up doing it.
It ends up, you went a different direction. So you won't. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite place in Pocatello you like to go for inspiration? Or where do you find your inspiration?
I don't have a good answer for that question.
It just kind of forced upon you and you're just like, all right. And your brain just starts turning.
Yeah, I will say that recently I have been doing more Pocatello related things. I have been doing more things related to Idaho and Pocatello. And it's like, if I believed in higher powers and things like that, I would say they're directing me to continue in that vein. Yeah. And so where would I get my inspiration? Well, I guess I need to be camping more and I need to be up hiking more, because that's like when I walk around and I see all of the different varieties of greens that exist, with like the bluer greens of the sagebrush and the deeper greens of the junipers and the brownish greens of some of the grasses that are up there. Just, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I don't always take the time to appreciate it. So where should I be getting more inspiration? That would be my answer.
Yeah, for sure. And Pocatello, we've talked about it, probably hammered it the past few episodes, is you can literally travel 10, 15 minutes outside of the city or less in a lot of cases and just sit down and listen to the birds and sit in front of beautiful scenery, ground yourself.
Yeah.
If you're just stressed out, you can just drive up into the mountains and pull off the side of the road and just sit there for a few minutes and, I guess, feel more at home.
Yeah.
See a deer or two, just there's a lot of wildlife, a lot of beautiful things here around Pocatello that aren't very far away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody jokes, don't let the Californians know that we exist here.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Because we like the kind of quiet, laid back, and being able to do that instead of, having such a big city that it takes you 20 minutes to get out of the city.
Yeah, to get to the area you really feel connected. And there are a lot of people that don't like Pocatello. And, when I'm working with students, I hear a lot of those comments. It's funny because a lot of them want to leave Pocatello. They want to go to the big city. They want to go somewhere more exciting. Yeah. And then to find out years later, they moved and then they came back.
Yeah, that's what I found out. Yeah. I traveled with the military for a few years and went to a lot of interesting places, and had a couple jobs, a lot of traveling. And I didn't live here for a while. And I was like, oh, yeah, I never even want to go back to Idaho, And, I came back here and you smell the fields being watered by the circles, and things like that. And it just brings you back and you're just like, no, it's not too bad here.
You come in, if I go on vacation, that coming back is always important to me. Yeah. Because as you drive through the gap, right, as you get back into Pocatello, it revitalizes the appreciation for the beauty that is around us.
Yep. And Mark's, you're like, I'm going to be home in 5 minutes. As soon as you go through that thing, you're 5 minutes or less, you'll be home, And,
so there's a dual purpose.
Yep.
I want to throw in a plug for someone.
Okay.
And I apologize to the myriad of other people in Pocatello or in my life that I'm not mentioning on this podcast. But I do want to throw one out for Ashley Delanis and what she's doing. And I think she would be a fantastic guest on here. I've known her for years and I've watched her progress and push herself and grow into, what she's doing now, which she's selling beautiful pieces of artwork that are directly tied to Pocatello and Idaho in her theming and her stylization of the pieces. So you ask about artists in Pocatello,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of people trying, like Nick is really pushing, trying to bring the community art scene to life, right? Brew House
Okay.
at the Martlet, where he's putting on artists and show. Thank you, Billy, for that. So there's a lot of key players. I'm just someone who likes to do art. I'm not great at like the promoting and the pushing of other people all the time, but there are those people who are doing a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of artists aren't good at that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not where your wheelhouse is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's partially another thing, you know, with our Restyle Studios, a parent thing to this podcast, you know, is we're getting into a position where we'll be able to help people with that maybe a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, and help get exposure to Pocatello and the artists and, you know, and maybe help build that community and bolster it so there's more communication and helping some of the people that, you know, could really stand to benefit from having their art be seen, used, or even preserved, you know, for future generations. Because there's some really beautiful pieces. I love the murals that have gone up because it takes a really blank wall that makes, you know, the back of some of these buildings just look like a back of a building.
Yeah.
And brings them a place that people get their pictures taken.
Right.
And they hang out there and they admire it every time they go back, or you can use it as a landmark, you know, of, hey, we're just like 2 stores down from the big old huge, you know, mural with this on it, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Did you know that I've got one right over here on the backside of Phoenix Management?
I don't.
Oh, that one. Okay. I said Baisies. I mentioned hers. This is another one that is really important to me. It was one of the first aerosol murals I ever did.
Oh.
And it has there's a Phoenix. It's on the backside of Phoenix Management in the alleyway. And there's a phoenix and fire on one side. And then there's a lady with a octopus earring. And that octopus earring is my wife's earring. And it's got a likeness to her. So it has that one's super important to me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So what other places here in town might people recognize some of your more public work?
So Cafe Toscano is one of the ones that I worked on with Josh at Sixes.
Okay.
The Cake House, which is just down from City Creek, which is really funky, really cool. I knew you were going to ask this question, and I thought I need to have this ready to go so that because I know I'm going to forget something and I'm going to feel really bad for not mentioning it, because every one of them I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
But I've mentioned most recently I'm working at Fifth Street Bakery on the Chubbuck location.
Yeah.
I've been able to do a big wall in there, and now I'm doing the counters, and it's very vibrant, very fun. Manticore Marketing. I just finished that one up not too long ago. I'm currently working with Magali at her learning center, Tunke Learning Center, on the south location. So, you know, I'll have to like make a little spreadsheet and update it, and we'll link it or something. I don't know, but those are the ones that come to mind at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. There's quite a bit, I think. The fact that you have to make a list.
Yeah, you know, that's good, right?
It lets people know, you know, you really care about doing this, and it definitely brings joy. Yeah. You know, also stress, but it's a good type of stress when you're dealing with that stuff, you know, when you're like, oh, how am I going to do this? Oh, you know, and but you put yourself under the gun for a reason to, you know, sometimes it's loosens up that creative block when you've got a deadline.
Deadlines are really good. They are stressful. Yeah. I can tell you I have called Rachel multiple times and been like, I just got a vent. I'm so stressed out. I got this and this and this, and this isn't working right. And she has been amazing. I got to give her a shout out for being incredibly supportive in this whole venture, allowing me to, you know, spend time away from her, to spend time away from my son. Trying to keep that balance is not always easy. Yeah. But she's been incredibly supportive, and so is my kids, and it's been really fun.
Yeah. The same with Amber, with me, you know, being able to have supportive spouses that allow you to kind of stretch your legs a little bit when it comes to your passions, you know, and like you're saying, I'm not good at promoting myself,
Right.
you know, but my wife's really good at
Oh, Amber
doing that
is
for me.
well, and you mentioned earlier, like she's also been one of those people who's been promoting artists, right?
Yeah.
And in her shop with some people that were renting from her
Yep.
or putting up their work in her space.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time, especially the past couple of years, like really trying to, you know, help other people,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, with what we know how to do, you know. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy because we've met a lot of really, really cool people and become really actually quite close friends with quite a few people just from just associating through the art scene and all that stuff, and just really, really neat people to get to know.
Yeah. That's one of the things that, like, as far as personality goes, I wish I was better at. People that have the ability to make not just like a friend in the moment that you're talking and treating each other respectfully at the moment, but holding on to good, long friendships. I think it's a skill that you have to work at. Mm-hmm. And I personally am not great at that. My wife is, and I know like a lot of people that are really good at it. And that's commendable because those connections are important. Yeah. I'm not great at it.
Yeah, neither am I. I'm a big guy, you know, so I'm not always approachable. I try and be nice, but I don't necessarily do a very good job at going out of my way or selling myself, you know.
You were quiet when I first met you. I felt like you were kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And maybe it was the situation where we were at, you know, or how we met.
I'm mostly like that until I get to know somebody. I have anxiety issues and stuff that until I get to know that somebody's safe to be me around, I usually just stay quiet so I don't rock the boat, you know?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
You know, but, you know, definitely both of our wives I've noticed have definitely shown up for us and kind of given the nudge of, hey, you say you love doing this. Here's the paintbrush. Get out of the house and go do it. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll be sitting on the couch and it's like, oh, well, it's later than I meant to get out working. So I don't know if I'm going to go. Just get out of the house. Go do what you have to do.
So I'm waiting for the inspiration.
Yeah. Just get it done.
For sure. Yeah. So you've also been connected to a lot of the local music scene. How would you describe the energy and influence on Pocatello when it comes to music?
Oh, I got kind of involved with the music scene through Shady Grove, actually.
So kind of tied in with like art.
With art, yeah. I met, you know, we went the first year that Shady Grove happened, and I just loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and I met some of the people involved in that program and putting that together, all of whom are amazing, who are just passionate, doing this out of the passion and love for music, because they're not making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. And all the money they make is going into the next year.
Yep. But
I was able to meet these guys and they're so cool and they're so passionate that I wanted to be involved. And so, you know, Ari, I was able to talk with her and get her contact information, and I was able to help them the following year with some decorations and we were able to set up a paint wall where I was able to paint a live mural at the third year, I think, or fourth year. I can't remember exactly. And then I was able to do that again a second year in a row, which was super cool. I didn't go this year because my brother-in-law got married in Colorado, but through my connections that I was able to make there, I have been able to meet more and more people. Sean Barnaby is someone that I've been able to meet through that.
Super talented.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I just ran into him last night too. And he's such a kind and loving person. He just loves people.
Yeah.
And then And then recently I was able to do a project for Modern Methods because, again, through connections, through Shady Grove. And, learning how connected the artist group is, or I should say the music group is here in Pocatello. It feels more connected than the artists, the visual artists that I know.
Yeah, I think part of that is you end up kind of playing the same venues and stuff. And so you run into these guys and you're just like, it starts out like, hey, let's help this guy so we can get on there quicker, let's help them unload their drums real quick, And,
it's self-serving.
and then you get talking with them and you realize, hey, you're actually a really cool dude.
Yeah.
And we really like your music. Hey, we'll give you a call next time we have this gig that you can open up for us, and it really is, there is a difference, when it comes to those different arts, of how well people interface with each other and, that type of stuff. But when you do have that community, it definitely bolsters a stronger relationship, you know, like if I know, hey, I don't have that many fog machines or I don't have this or that, I know now who I need to talk to, Main Street Music for years, I can go in there and haven't been in there for 4 years and they know who I am, it's a great thing to live in a town that's like that. So going to Salt Lake and some teenagers trying to sell me a $2,000 mixer, you know, and all I need is, something small. So,
well, and you mentioned that, and it makes me think that there's also probably a hidden component that wasn't mentioned, that if you go into Main Street Music, you're dealing with someone who their life has revolved around music.
Yeah.
So they have the knowledge base where maybe if I go to the music store in Salt Lake, this kid he's out of high school and got a job and he just gets paying the bills, and that's fine. He's doing what he's doing, but there's definitely a camaraderie or a knowledge base in, a lot of these local businesses that you're not going to get somewhere else.
Yeah. You can't. There's too big of cities. There's got too much going on, and there's a lot of the original businesses around here in town, and including some of the old art stores that, went out of business years ago.
Yeah.
That was kind of crappy to see.
It's unfortunate. Yeah.
But I do think that the artist stuff is kind of being kept alive, by, high school teachers like you, like Phelps and, just all these other people that I've gotten to know, that's where it starts. We joked around a couple podcasts ago about, something Mike Rowe said about all these big companies of where we're going to get all of our technicians and all this other stuff. And all, where do we find them? They're contacting them. He's like, they're in the 7th grade, all these employees that you need are in the 7th grade. That's, you're not going to squeeze them out of the workforce, but it's the same thing with being an artist. That's where all that starts, is when you're young and in high school and in middle school, of having the freedom to be wrong.
Yeah.
Have the freedom to, royally mess something up and be able to say, oh, okay, this is what I want to do next time, instead of being demoralized, you know, and being like, well, I'm just not any
right.
good.
You're not. Speaking of middle school, and I don't know all the art teachers in the district that well, but Arlen McCulloch.
Yep.
Changing kids' lives. And just, constantly coming up with new, creative, weird stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I admire that man and the way his brain works. I actually lived with him for a little while.
Yeah.
I was living with him and renting space, his downstairs, for a while here when I was living earlier in Pocatello. And we made a studio in the back of his garage where we took newspaper print and we basically like plastered it all over the walls and then dyed it so it looked grungy and nasty. And we made these cardboard boxes that we turned into shelving on, in the corners of the room. And then we put little bones and like rib cages that we made out of paper mache, and we made this studio and we did art videos for a little while where Arlen McCulloch is Mick Zombeard and you can find them on YouTube, and they are ridiculous. And we weren't, like the concepts that we had so much fun, and their videos are too long, and we're not, like we were trying to do something fun. We did something. It was a lot of fun to do with him. It never like blew up like we imagined we were going to become YouTube famous, but regardless, it was a blast. And he is another one of the local artists who I think is just phenomenal. And you'll see him at the market selling his mugs.
Yeah, I just drink coffee out of one of them this morning.
Yeah, my wife and I also both have, the designated Arlen McCulloch mugs.
Yep, so I have the one with the baby face on it. I call it the Matrix baby mug.
Matrix
like
baby?
The Matrix baby on the end of Matrix when the machine lifts up Neo and stuff. Yeah. It's got a little baby face on it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's got like
that's awesome.
The pale greenish blue. So I call it my Matrix cut.
That's why you picked that one. You're like, oh, this is perfect.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So is there any artists here in Pocatello or anywhere in the world that you just love to work with? If you had the opportunity to just kind of sit and observe their process or sit side by side and help them with something?
There are a couple artists that I've really liked for a long time. Kipto, he is a muralist and a painter, and I love his storytelling process. He just recently, maybe it's not that recent, but he did a triptych, and so that's 3 paintings side by side that work together. So each of them tells a portion of a story, a hero's story, kind of coming from nothing and gaining a little bit more ability and knowledge, and then overcoming, right, the obstacles. And just his color palettes and his style have really just always been, I don't know, like it's not that he's better than anybody else. It's just like that's what resonated with me, and I really like his work. He is someone who I would love to meet. I'd love to pick his brain. I'd love to watch his process. Yeah. And then another is Dan Mumford, who has done crazy good work for a lot of musicians, Fish and Metallica, I think Metallica, but he has done a lot of album work and things like that for a lot of artists. And his heavy, thick black lines and limited color palettes and very illustrative and fun. It's like this awesome mix between kind of like dark and then vibrant color. Yeah. And super fun. Those are 2 artists who I continue, like, I'm always excited to see something new that they're doing or, a piece of artwork by them I hadn't seen. And there are a ton of other artists. Those are the 2 I think that I've stuck with the longest that I've really followed. Crayola is another great one. Yep. There's a lot. Yeah.
So do you have any other things coming up soon?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned a few of them. I am finishing up 5th Street Baglery. Okay. I am working with Magali on Tungi, and I am working currently on her south building, but I will also be in the future working on her north building. I am working on an oil painting, and I just finished up a logo and kind of branding package for actually a former student who's now living in Portland, Oregon. Oh, cool. It was super cool to get a call from her. Yeah. We've touched base with each other a few times over the years, but she's doing cosmetology, and I'm probably going to get some of what she's doing wrong, but she really wants to focus on laser removal, like for tattoo removal. She wants to help people who are getting out of prison get jobs, and that can be one of the elements that they can use. And also just like you want to clean up your look and you want to present yourself in a new way, then I'm here to help you. And so that was cool because I like what she's doing. I like her vision. And for me, if I'm really interested in, like, I really like what you're doing and what you're about, that makes the process just seem to flow so much easier. Yeah. That's what I've got currently. And then I've got a lull, which I think I'm okay with for a little bit. School's starting back up, and it's hard to juggle when I got a lot of things going. Yep,
get your schedule in line.
Yeah.
Definitely so.
Yeah. I would say that I would absolutely, anybody listening, I would love to do work in other states. I was able to go to Bend, Oregon and paint in the restrooms of my brother's well, not his, I guess it's his and his wife. His wife is a sommelier, and they have a wine shop, a wine pairing. They do food. It's very, very nice. The only wine that I ever had that I was like, I could switch to wine, you know, like that, because she paired it for me. She knew what I liked. Yeah. I got to go there and I got to paint in their restrooms, and it was super fun. It's fun. In my dreams, right? I travel to new places that I haven't got to experience or see.
Yeah.
And I paint there, right? That's my excuse. And people pay me to do it. Yeah. I was actually really bummed because I put in a proposal for a job in Frisco, and it was an underpass. They had kind of like, it's a touristy town, and they've got like this tunnel was an access to get into, you know, a bike park and a skate park and the ski hill during the winter and cross country areas during the winter. So it was like very outdoorsy and sportsy. And that was one of the jobs I didn't get, you know, that I was really wish I would have,
for sure.
To go to this cool place and paint and have an excuse to go hang out in these really cool places.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So anybody listening, give Mark an excuse.
You bet. I would love it. Absolutely.
Well, hey, do you have you go under Creative Chameleon, right?
Yes.
All right.
Creative Chameleon.
If you're looking to get a hold of Mark, you can get a hold of him through there. But yeah, well, we really appreciate you coming on the podcast and kind of talking about what you do and some of the stuff you have around town. And, you know, we really appreciate you coming and stopping by.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on there. As I think you're doing a really good job. It was fun to listen to some, you know, the podcast that you had done with Nick. I think you do an excellent job. You come prepared. You know what you're trying to get at, and you're easy to talk to. It was a lot of fun.
Right on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.